I'm almost 70. I was born in California, and my home is, let's just say it's in Virginia. I live in Europe for a number of reasons, but let's just say we're out of Obama land. I'm not going to live. I think my country went crazy in 2008 by electing a man that nobody knew anything about, and there's no qualifications. He's a freshman senator, had absolutely never had a real job in his life. We know nothing about him. This is unbelievably ridiculous to elect somebody of complete, total ignorance and incompetence. And I thought it was crazy. And so my wife and I left. I started leading North Pole expeditions. I was the first person to ever lead a commercial expedition to the North Pole. And where people paid me and I'd take them there. And I figured out I'd get them there by a de Havilland Twin Otter plane with skis to lay the fuel caches down on the ice and to land as close to 90 north, 90 right angles to the equator. So that's the North Pole, you don't get more than 90, on the sea ice, which is not easy. I started doing that in 1978. And in 1980, 1980, the group of skydivers came to me and said, would you fly us to the North Pole? We want to try to set the world's record for the most northerly parachute jump. And the record at the time was 89 degrees, 39 minutes north, which is 21 nautical miles off true north. So they wanted to break the record. And I said, sure, I'll do that. But I'd only made a couple of jumps ever in my life, and I'm darned if I'm going to lead a skydiving expedition and not know how myself. And so I started, doing the static lines and hop and pops and try to figure out how to skydive. But I only had a few jumps by the time I had to do this. This was April 1980. And very unfortunately, because it's a hit or miss, you get up to the pole. We go in April when the sun comes up off the horizon, but it's not high enough, so the crystal hazes and the fogs develop and the leads open up. The currents drive these splits in the ice like rivers in the ice, and you get fogs and stuff. And you got to have sunlight to see the ice blocks, the shadows on the ice blocks, because if you don't see the shadows, you don't know where to land. Hitting an ice block is not a good idea. So at any rate, we get up there and there's fog, and it's lousy, and we have to land like 50 miles away. We make a jump. We landed. We made a jump, and I have got some round parachute. I don't even know how to fly a square parachute at the time, and I ended up way off and way off in the ice someplace and have to trudge back. But at any rate, we all did it, but it wasn't a record. At any rate, the next year, 1981, all that year, all the preceding year, I learned how to jump. I learned how to skydive, and I got okay. I made a couple of hundred of them. I did 300 jumps. I was there every weekend at the drop zone, Paris Valley, California, and night dives. Those were cool, and jumping out of balloons and all kinds of stuff I was doing. And so I learned how to, I knew what I was doing a year later. And so I had a regular group with me, and I brought my rig, and when we got up to the pole, as luck would have it, just clear as a bell, and one of the ideal ice conditions, it's called a old frozen over lead. It's been locked in the ice all winter. So it's it's not a new frozen over lead that the plane will just go through the ice. So it was bang on, right there, 90 north. It was just one of those times. And so we landed 90 north. Everybody got out, took the doors off the plane, dumped the fuel drums out, and the pilot, co-pilot and I, we took off. And I had them go up to 8,000 feet because I wanted at least a mile of free fall. Normal jump altitude is about 12,500 feet above the ground, but you know, I don't. The more higher you go, the more fuel we're burning. So I just took him up to 8 grand. I knew how to spot by then, so I lined him up, told him to cut, and out the door I went. And it was really cool. You know, to think, you know, I'm dropping down right on the absolute top of the world. The whole world is spinning around underneath you. All you can see is white. It's just this world of white. But there's differences, there's colorations. There would be leads, the ice sometimes would turn real turquoise, sometimes you'd get a turquoise pool, etc. The configurations of the ice, it's hard to describe. Pancake ice and all these different pressure ridges, etc. But I just had fun, you know. I did somersaults and screwed around and flips and yelled and screamed because this was really cool. But finally, you know, it's time to go. So I got down to about 2,500 feet and open it up, and the thing opens. That's good, and landed next to everybody. And so, Guinness Book of World Records. I was in Mogadishu. This is April, so it was a little bit more than a month ago, in the last February.
Why?
Because people paid me to take them there.
Okay.
I mean, I come up with, you know, interesting, cool, unusual places. I figured that out, how to do it, because that's what I do. I figured out how to do it and do it safely. And Mogadishu has got the most dangerous city in the world. Okay. However, there's planes flying in. There's people going there, Somalis, who are left, expats. They have businesses someplace, and now they're moving back. And they're building hotels. And they're putting money in. And how can that be if it's so dangerous? What's going on here? So the disparity between what people think of Mogadishu, the most dangerous city in the world, you get blown up if you step off the plane, you know, and the reality seems to be big difference here. What is that difference? Well, I mean, nonetheless, you don't go any place without what they call movement protection, okay? So movement security. Movement security, you don't go any place except within the perimeter of armed guys, right, who are trained professionals, trained armed bodyguards, heavily armed, and you move through the city. If you're walking around through the Bakara Market or out to Lido Beach or wherever else you go in Mogadishu, you move within their perimeter, okay? Because you don't take chances. But we didn't have any problems at all. You know, the place is not a complete, but it is a ruin like you cannot believe. I mean, it looks like Warsaw after World War II. I mean, it's just devastation. It's hard to really grasp. And yet people are there, they're working, they're trying to resurrect their city, they're trying to build it back, they're putting money into hotels, not hotels we'd stay in. We had a protected compound we were in, but they're building businesses. One problem is they haven't got a real cement plant, so all the cement that's going into the buildings is of very poor quality. And so these buildings are going to pancake if they don't watch it. so we don't go into too many buildings. But nonetheless, it was a fascinating experience, and it was heartening to see people whose lives have been, the worst that you can imagine on earth of recent times, trying to resurrect their lives and trying to rebuild them and trying to rebuild their lives and their city and their economy. It's very inspiring. Oh dear. Well, the first president of the United States I met was Dwight Eisenhower. Okay, I mean, I got to be an Eagle Scout, and all of a sudden the Scout headquarters, then it was in New Brunswick, New Jersey, said I'm the youngest Eagle Scout, and I was invited back to Scout headquarters, and the Chief Scout Executive, his name was Arthur Shuck. He, pinned the eagle on me. My family was there, and then I got invited to the White House, and I met President Eisenhower. So that was, I'm a 12-year-old kid, and the President of the United States plus General Eisenhower, the whole thing, one of the great men, and I'm like, I'm speechless. That was Eisenhower. I might have met Nixon. But of course, the president that I met many times was Ronald Reagan. And he's always been my idol, most extraordinary man, person I ever met. My father, because of his business in Hollywood, knew a lot of people in Hollywood. So I met a lot of people with incredible charisma, famous movie stars, from Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, John Wayne, all kinds of people. Wayne was cool, but I never met anybody with the magic. It was a depth of magic. I don't know how to describe it. A gravitas of magic. Like Ronald Reagan. There's nobody like Ronald Reagan. I met George the First. That was just a couple of times, and George the Elder, George the Younger. Prime ministers. I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of them. You got to pluck this out of memory. I mean, it's been
Ariel Sharon.
long time. Sharon was an extraordinary man. I mean, but you just get to talking to him, and you can just, like we're talking, I mean, he's a guy. But
have you met any other Israeli prime ministers?
Did I meet Bibi? I think I met Bibi once, but just briefly at some function. But not like I got to spend a little time with Sharon. That's just, I don't know, these things happen to me. This was in 1996, right around there, 96, and this friend of mine who's a congressman, I've known him for many years, Dana Rohrabacher calls me up and says, Wheeler, you gotta come to the office, there's these Russians here, I want you here. So, when that happens, he's got some people, he's on the Foreign Affairs Committee, International Relations. I'll go to the meeting, I'll just sit and listen, and and then I'll tell him what I thought later on. That's supposed to be the drill. So, this is the era of good feelings, Boris Yeltsin, etc. And it's the deputy mayor of St. Petersburg and his entourage. Cares, whoop-de-doo, It's not even the mayor of St. Petersburg. It's not a guy in the Politburo. It's deputy mayor of St. Petersburg. Who cares? But Dana gets all, wound up and cool, Russia, go Russia, we're going to be friends. And so it's the end of the day, and he says, would you guys like to have a beer? Russians think that's a great idea. So we go off to a bar on Capitol Hill called the Irish Times. So we're all sitting around having a Guinness, etc. And I'm talking to one of the Russians and, one of Dana's staffers were talking. And all of a sudden, there is Dana and the deputy mayor having an arm wrestling match. What? What? I mean, obviously Dana has had, a bit too much Guinness. So the deputy mayor proceeds to go, just puts Dana down, boom, and Dana stands up, looking all around, and he doesn't see the guy on his staff who's the Marine,
Yeah.
He sees me, and he says, Wheeler, defend the honor of your country. And I said, Dana, I'm having a beer, I'm happy, don't do this. And of course the Russian, hey, Tavarish, hey, he wants to see another American get his ass kicked, and the Marine guy, Paul, he says, okay, and I'm thinking, well, the Cold War wasn't over that long ago, when am I going to have this chance again? Okay, so I don't even know this guy's name. All I remember, he had blonde hair and he had these blue eyes, and he had this little smirk on his face. And the smirk, okay, but I don't have a smirk. I am very good with what I call a stupid smile, looking like an idiot, right? So I'm sit there propped up, etc., with my stupid smile, and I take the guy's hit, but really, he isn't that strong. He's really not a lot there, and so boom, okay, left arm, okay, you want the left arm, all right, and so down he went. So I think, well, that's strange, now I can grab my beer, but no, up steps the KGB bodyguard, and I mean, this guy is huge, and he spots me. I'm 52 years old now, and this guy is in his 20s, and he's huge, and he's blonde, and he says, no, my turn. And I think, how do I get into these things? I didn't ask for this. I'm going to be destroyed. The guy's going to take my arm off, my shoulder off. But now I'm mad. God damn it. All right, come on, sit down. So we line up, but I know the trick. I know the Russian trick. The Russian trick is to put everything they have, that's why they fight wars, by the way, every single thing they have into the first picosecond, right? Everything they've got, and if you can just hold that off, there ain't much left. So all I know is I got to take the guy's hit. I'm not going to beat him. I just got to take his hit. So I take his hit, and my shoulder's about to come off. It's my God, is he strong? But I take his hit, and he doesn't get me. He doesn't get me because I'm not trying to get him. You see, so back and forth, and what do you know? Hey, wait a minute here, and a little bit more, bang down. So left arm. Well, I know he's demoralized, because I can take him, and I know I can take him. So down he went. So that was that. It was just this weird thing, and then it's fast forward to January 2000. Dana and I are having dinner. It's a new session of Congress, and we ordinarily go over what's been going on and kind of a briefing, new Congress, and what's going on in the world, etc. So we talk about different countries, and we talk gets around Russia, and I said, well, there was just this election in Russia, and I turned white. He looks at me and he says, what's the matter? I said, oh my God, I just saw this guy's picture in the paper. Oh, Dana, you won't believe this. He says, what? And I said, well, that arm wrestling thing that was years ago? And he thinks I'm crazy, he can't remember. I said, arm wrestling, remember with Russians, Irish Times, it was years ago, Deputy Mayor of St. Petersburg, and finally he says, oh yeah, my arm, yeah. Do you remember the guy, the deputy mayor? And he says, no, I don't remember that guy. I remember the KGB guy, that great big KGB SOB. I remember him. I remember you beat him. I said, well, I don't remember the KGB guy. Do you know who that guy was? Deputy Mayor of St. Petersburg. He just got elected president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. And now it was Dana who went, he said, oh my God, you're right. And we just laughed and laughed and laughed, and that was that. I got something in the Alps. You asked about Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Albania is a good friend of mine. His name is Sali Berisha. And he's a wonderful guy. And so I'm taking people into these hidden mountains in Albania by helicopter. And because it's hard to get up there. And so I'm taking a group. We're going all over into Albania and Kosovo and that area. And the Alps in Albania are fabulous. They really are. Nobody knows about them. I had a thing in China, thing in India, thing in the South Pacific, and maybe Indonesia.
Just give me 5.
That's it? You just want to ask me an embarrassing question.